Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to continue on and wrap up our theme exploring bands who changed singers and taking a critical eye at maybe how the difference in band members might have changed their music or their approach to writing. We're going to wrap this whole thing up with some Anthrax, interestingly checking this one out of order. We're going to start with the song Only, which featured John Bush, Anthrax's second vocalist. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into a song from 2016 featuring Joey Belladonna, but after he rejoined the band. And there was actually a lot of back and forth between these two, but this seems to be the most recent, as Joey has been their vocalist since 2010, and this track comes from 2016. So that'll be tomorrow, though. Today we're going to look at John Bush with the song Only. Came out in 1993. Let's dive in and see what Anthrax is bringing to the table today. So we had some nice syncopation to that drum part, but now we just have snare on 2 and 4. The guitars are keeping up a consistency of rhythm as well. 2 chords. Oh, 3 chords. Oh, it's okay, so instead of a pedal tone, we have whatever the opposite of a pedal tone. I mean, it's still a pedal tone. I just expect those to be at the bottom of the chord.
Everything is perfect. Everything is set. And that's it. You can't tell me to stop it. You can't tell me not to play.
Nice way of lining the guitar line up with the vocals on that rhythmically. Wait a second. I recognize that part, but I don't know from where. They do a great job with that. Driving energy and then letting it go. And then more tension. It just feels weightless. This is Anthrax, though? Oh, tossing in some bluesy guitar work. Yeah. So putting the melody from the vocals on the guitar with some variation. Classic idea, but it always gets me. this. High energy ending. Double time it. Yeah, dude, that's such a good track. That's Anthrax, huh? Now, granted, this is a decade after they formed. Seems like Joey joined the band in '84. I don't know when they first released an album. Uh, but I mean, this is '93. That's a long time. Maybe earlier Anthrax isn't this, because what this is sort of radio friendly hard rock of the '90s. And that's probably where I've heard it. It might not be one of the more popular tracks that got played all over Clear Channel rock radio in the US. But I'm sure I heard this on the radio at one point in the, I don't know, 15 years I listened to radio rock growing up. But it also reminds me of a lot of other bands that were big hard rock groups of the 90s too. And interestingly, it even reminds me a little bit of, probably because it was quite iterative at the time, Kiss's attempt to create a hard rock album with, dang, what was that album called? They got rid of their makeup, they just wore like jeans and t-shirts, and they put out a good hard rock album. It's probably my favorite Kiss album, and I cannot think of the name of it. It probably came out in 96, 97. So a few years after this. It's just right up my alley, though. I grew up on this stuff. I have a big soft spot for this sound. Just groovy, great control of atmosphere. I'm not going to say that the atmosphere is complex or dense, but the movement, the control that they have going through the atmosphere, of primarily the two main movements of it, and we'll touch on that later. Um, it's just the vocal melodies are super catchy. The guitars sound great. I love the guitar solo starting off its own way and then pulling in the vocal melody. Um, it is a straightforward track at the end of the day. I don't know that this is going to be an incredibly deep analysis here. Probably a bit on the shorter side on top of that. But dang, if this doesn't just immediately hook me. And the thing is, too, is I remember probably about 10th grade, not even 10th grade, this would have been middle school, 7th grade, 8th grade. So I'd have been like 13, 14, somewhere in that range. And I remember my sister wanting to listen to Anthrax. And so my dad got her an album. And I remember listening to it like, nah, dude, this is too much for me. This is not my speed. This is not my cup of tea. But this would have been after that, because that would have been like 02, 03. I don't know, man. I remember Anthrax being metal. And it's very interesting for me to check this out, and it's hard rock. Maybe this was just a single. This is a music video. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I heard this on the radio. Maybe they softened it up to bring in an audience and they have heavier stuff elsewhere. I'm just very surprised by this. This is not what I was expecting at all today. It kind of has me super intrigued for tomorrow's Breathing Lightning. Kind of see what Anthrax is doing now. I mean, 2016 still, oh my god, it's still a decade old. How is that possible? But it's still way more present than a 93 track. I'm kind of flabbergasted. Just gonna throw that out there. Just not expecting to enjoy. I want to go check this album out now. I've never wanted to check an Anthrax album out, and here I'm like, okay. I also had this probably because I didn't think Anthrax was hard rock. I had this attributed to a completely different band. I don't know who. I'm pretty sure I've heard this before, but I would never have Anthrax. I would never have guessed it. If someone asked me, "Hey, that Only song, who do you think wrote that?" Never would cross my mind that it's Anthrax. So this more like a lighter topic. Let's put that in the past. Let's check out some more deeper conversation about this. What's going on here? We kicked the track off with a bit of syncopation on the drums. I really appreciated this, and I was a bit deflated when the guitars kicked in and the drums locked into what they would play for pretty much the entire song, which is just constant eighth notes on the bass kick, snare on 2 and 4, cymbals on every beat. The drums are very straightforward. There's a couple of fills, a couple of ornamental things. Sometimes they'll sneak in a syncopated snare hit. Sometimes there'll be some interesting cymbal work, but it's all quite rare. It happens every now and then. The drums as a whole, they're impressive in the way that he sits in the pocket. I mean, he's just got that constant eighth note kick down. Never faltering the timing on that at all. Absolutely the glue that holds all of this together. The guitars and the bass, they sort of start off in the same realm too. Constant eighth notes. Movement, sure. We start off with this really cool part where we have the bass and guitar playing the same pitch, and then the bass starts walking down. And we have a pedal tone, but at the top of the chord rather than the bottom. And for a second there, it even confused me. It really shouldn't, but I was like, what's the opposite of a pedal tone? Because when I think pedal, I immediately think of the floor, the bass line of the song. Usually, you create your foundation and you build your melody on top of that. The distance is how far you've moved up away from that low note that keeps the foundation down. It's still a pedal tone here. The guitars just hold out this one note, but the moving line dips below it. I think that's pretty cool. You don't hear that too often. It's not the first time I've heard it. I don't know why it confused me so much, but it does sound very cool. I love it here. And plus, giving the bass the moving line while the guitar gets the lead, that's pretty cool. I keep saying bass. It probably doesn't have to be a bass. I think at that pitch, it could be the lowest string of the guitar. You'd probably get away with that because it would be a higher guitar bass string too. So I don't know what instrument it is, but it's still a lower note walking downward away from a higher note. That's cool. But once we get out of that, we get into the verse, the vocals kick in, the guitar and bass, they just kind of lock into this one bar phrase. Yeah, I think it's only one bar. It's a short loop though, over and over and over. The song kind of locks into one chord for quite a while. Most of the verses are just this one chord phrase. Usually we will have a sort of punctuating idea on bar 4. That'll give the guitars a little bit of movement. And then we have this phrase. Static, static, static movement. Static, static, static movement. Pretty typical for metal 4-bar phrase right there. We hear a lot of this in heavy metal. We hear a lot of it in hard rock. And it's easy to write melodies over because you don't have to worry about the chord progression. You have one chord, stick with it. It works. It's very effective. Even if it is simple, it is great. It is catchy. It pulled me in. Super groovy stuff. And we get some syncopation from the guitars, but especially from the vocals. I feel like this is where a lot of the syncopation comes from. Sometimes the guitars will line up with the vocals. I mentioned that in the first verse. There is actually some really cool deviation of the of the guitars doing what they're doing, constant eighth notes, but changing up their accent pattern to match what the vocals are doing every once in a while. It creates a little bit of change and contrast to the guitar part without actually changing the guitar part too much. It is a variation, but a small one that is replicating something that's already happening elsewhere in the song anyways. It's not necessary, but it does add a nice little bit of cohesion throughout the song and shows how flexible the guitars can be. I really like that. We get into the chorus, and this is just catchy. Super catchy. I love the vocal bits here. What I love about the chorus we're gonna get into later again, but it's the push and pull. It's this atmospheric feeling that the song goes through constantly. And here, because of the longer held out notes, I think it's really felt the harmonic side of this song. And it feels good to listen to, even though I think it's technically one of the more boring parts as far as moving ideas, variation, stuff like that. It catches you with that atmosphere. It does. And the vocals just belting out these notes. God, dude, it works. The bridge, we have the guitar solo. We'll touch specifically on that later. The final chorus, we got some variation. We have a second vocal line coming in, bringing back, I think, one of the ideas from the verses. I'm sure when I read the lyrics, I'll figure it out. But I don't think it was brand new material. I remember hearing the words prior, but it might have been a different rhythm or a different melody that they were sung to. That was put on top of the original chorus. I mean, this is just great. Just a great way to wrap it up. And then we finish the song off with higher intensity, repetition of a key phrase. I don't remember what the phrase was lyrically, but just really driving home that phrase, that linguistic phrase. Um, yeah, just as a general overview, this song captures a lot of movement, a lot of ideas. It's constantly in flux, but not enough to make it feel different. The song is very singular in vision and emotion, but it doesn't get old. It doesn't get boring. There's enough moving parts here that keeps it fresh from moment to moment. The guitar solo, I like this. The guitar gets a little bit more bite, cuts through the mix a little bit with their new tone. We get a nice solo, a little bit of long held out notes, something a bit more tasteful. There's a little bit of showing off in there. Not really getting into like full on shred, but definitely showing off some skill. I like that nice back and forth. It's a generally well written melody there. And halfway through the solo, we bring the vocal line back from the chorus. And I really like this because it feels natural too. And there's also this feeling of anticipation to it. After we've gone through this new melody line, that I think the guitar, like I said, it sounds great. We get to see the guitar show off a little bit. The melody has forward momentum to it. It is linear. It is chopped up into chunks. You can sort of feel where one idea stops and another one ends if you're looking for it, but generally speaking, I think it moves rather smoothly, especially for the sounds that I think this guitarist is not emulating, but their inspirations. Um, but it's well written. I enjoyed my time with it. And then there's like two notes, and the second one gets held out, and you're like, oh dang, you've already heard this note before. Twice in every chorus, you've heard the attack and it being held out in this specific pitch, and you're like, dang, this is it. This is the chorus line. Is he going to do it? And then he moves into the rest of the chorus melody, and it's this feeling of anticipation and release. And it just feels great. Now, I'm sure that that's not as cool of a section on repeat listens. You know he's going to bring it back. But right there, I was like, is he going to do it? Or is he teasing me with this? But then we don't just get the melody line from the chorus either. There are some minor variations to this first time through, and when we bring back the second half, which is pretty much the first half, it has a lot of variation to it. We start pushing up in pitch, we start bringing ideas up. If the guitar line were played alongside the vocal line, we'd actually have some pretty cool dyad harmony. It is a cool new version of the chorus melody with some slight rhythmic changes. It does have a little bit more fluidity to it and some more expression. But it also changes the notes themselves up. Instead of playing this note, maybe we'll play it a third up or a fifth up or something like that. And we'll just Maybe we had a descending line in the vocals, we're going to have an ascending line in the guitar. Little changes like that. It's definitely the melody that you're quite familiar with, but with some new touches to it. And that's just, that goes straight to my heart. You all know that. Give me something I've heard, change it up. Theme and variation. I love it. It is such a simple way to make me melt. And we actually get to that. I just recognize that. We get the theme of the chorus in this guitar solo, variation put on it, and the third time through the chorus, we get a variation on that with the new vocal line. It's such effective writing. It really is. It's simple to do, and it drastically improves music. Just take something you've written, copy paste it, make some alterations to it, bam. And it's just like, do it all the time. There's why stop at copy paste? Just take the extra 5 seconds. I mean, hyperbolically speaking, spruce it up a little, make a couple changes, really elevate that copy paste. It's kind of a cynical way to look at it, but one of the great things of music has been theme and variation for hundreds of years. I just wish we'd use it more in mainstream music, and Anthrax is kind of putting on a clinical here, putting on a clinic. Um, Not that I think this is one of the best uses of theme and variation, but as far as modern rock and metal goes, you really get zero of it. So doing it twice seems pretty extreme. I really like that. Atmosphere. I mentioned this feeling of tension and release. I'm still trying to pinpoint where that comes from. I think it is purely a harmonic thing. There is this constant feeling of tension followed by weightlessness almost. I don't necessarily want to call it release, but it does feel like we're not being crunched in anymore. The walls have opened up, but gravity has also let loose. And now we have the tension of free flying, free fall, but I don't know, being suspended, not being able to move. It's a different type of anxiety, different type of tension, and I find that constant in here. Both of the chords that they play have elements of harmonic instability to it. Granted, I think one is more stable than the other, so we do have a feeling of tension and release on a general sense, but it's more like tension and less tension, where the less tension eventually, by way of contrast, is a type of relief, but never quite a full one. We don't get that full resolution much in here. And I find this to be interesting. It's like being stuck between a rock and a hard place and continuing to bounce between the two of them. I don't know what that's supposed to inform. I can't wait to get to the lyrics on this one. But it's present in the verse, it's present in the chorus, it's present in the guitar solo. The only time I didn't really feel it was in the intro. And that had the constant descending bass line in it. I mean, we kicked the song off with falling away from a home note, a moment of stability. Both instruments are playing the exact same pitch to begin with, and then the one of them falls away from it, consistently getting farther. And from there, the song kicks into a series of unstable chords. I mean, you can take that musical metaphor in a lot of directions, but as far as I can see, this is someone who continues to grapple with negativity and tries to grasp a return back to a stable or more positive state of being and can't. That's what I hear in the song musically. But it's just so infectious, too. That push and pull feels amazing to listen to, and I think it really it's what drives a lot of the chorus here, especially with those longer held out notes. You really get that feeling of suspended tension, hanging on to these moments as if it's the only thing that's possible. Any sort of positivity or growth or change, it's just not in the cards. I'm going to go check out some lyrics here, see if any of that lines up with what I felt musically about this. Then we'll wrap this video up. Alright, this song is about an antagonistic relationship between the narrator and someone else. Pre-chorus says, revolve around yourself. It's you and no one else. It's hard for me to stay with the swinging moods that change, calmness to deranged, you're unpredictable. Says you would see if only you hadn't taken things out of my hands, but you never wanted to understand. So this idea that this other person, they're wildly unpredictable. They could be calm one minute and absolutely aggressive the next. They don't know how to approach them. They don't know how to be around them. And something happened. And the narrator felt like they had lost control of a situation. Maybe they were, I don't know. Could be a lot of, it just says, if only you hadn't taken things out of my hands. Just any sort of control disruption there. He says, but you never wanted to understand. So it could be that he's just dealing with a sort of narcissist right here. Verse 2 says, clashing ways to live. There's only compromises for me, but I'm at both ends of the spectrum and you're somewhere in between. Everything else is pretty much the same. I mentioned that the final chorus had a line brought back from earlier in the song, but I was totally wrong here. I don't know what I was thinking. The new vocal line just says, crucified, terrified, sacrificed my whole life. It then repeats my whole life a few times, while the main vocals are singing, if only you hadn't taken it out of my hands, you never wanted to understand. So this person feels like they've been the victim throughout this entire relationship, that they've been crucified and terrified their whole life, spending it with this other person. They've been vilified every moment of it, and they're ready to take back control. But see, here's the twist. The outro says, I can't contain myself, I can't take myself. And I wonder if this other person is another side of the narrator. Not necessarily in like a split personality thing, but that they find themselves easy to anger, maybe. And once they're angry, they become a very different person. And, you know, it's one of those things where once you start calming down, you're like, oh, geez, why did I say that stuff? You know, why did I do those things to the people I care about? And this is the calmer side saying, you know, you took everything out of my hands, you took control of the body and all this stuff. But then I don't know about the crucified, terrified, sacrificed my whole life thing. I don't know. It's just this one line at the end. I'm like, oh, maybe he's talking about another side of himself. He can't contain himself. The darker parts break through. It's vague enough that I think you could read it either way, and there probably is a pretty good argument, including the final chorus, for a read on it about a darker inside that can pierce through and do things that you might regret later once you've calmed down. I think that works well with the song. A feeling of losing that stability at the beginning and then constantly being in states of tension. He talks about, you know, being crucified and terrified his whole life. For the whole song to have this shifting tension without any pure resolution to it. You can certainly find elements of that in there. But also my original read of sort of struggling to find that stability again and not being able to obtain it. Yeah. I mean, at the very end of the song, he says, I can't contain myself. So definitely having a tough time getting control back of the situation. I think it works well. Makes me want to check out more Anthrax too. This is just it totally blows my mind. Are they a hard rock band? I can't believe it. Either that or somehow this was too heavy for me. years ago. And that doesn't seem accurate because this would have been right up my alley if well, actually, I did hear it. I just didn't know it was them. These are my thoughts. Anthrax is Only. What did you think of this track? Is there anything that stood out to you? Anything that you would like to add on to what I said or correct me on? Let me know about any of that. If you have your own interpretation of things, your own opinions, please put all of that and any other thoughts you have down into the comments section. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. Takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, though, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.